Let's talk about the most embarrassing moment of your life. Not the one you casually tell at parties, but the quiet, invisible panic when someone walks up to you on the street, smiles, and asks you a simple question in a language you've supposedly been studying for years. You know the vocabulary. You've passed the written exams. You have a massive daily streak on that famous language app, complete with digital confetti celebrating your dedication. But in that exact moment, your throat tightens, your mind goes completely blank, you stutter, point vaguely in a random direction, and speed walk away. Then you go home and replay that agonizing 15-second interaction in the shower for the next 3 weeks. I should have used the past tense for that verb. Why does this happen? Why can you file complicated taxes, perfectly analyze the hidden psychological motives of your coworkers, and remember the lyrics to songs you haven't heard in a decade, but you can't string together a basic sentence when a real human being is standing right in front of you? You probably tell yourself a very convincing story. You say you just have a terrible memory. You say you don't have an ear for languages. You read an article once about how adults have rigid brains, so you quietly accept that unless you move to a foreign country, speaking fluently is mathematically impossible. But that is a complete lie. Neuroscience paints a different and frankly much more uncomfortable picture. You are not failing to speak that language because your brain is too old or your memory is fading. You are failing because your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Your brain is desperately, ruthlessly protecting your ego. Learning a language is not an academic pursuit like learning history or mathematics. It is fundamentally an identity crisis. Think about who you are right now in your native language. You are competent, you are witty, you know how to make a brilliant, sarcastic observation about terrible weather to break the ice. You know how to defend yourself logically if someone is rude to you. You are a fully formed, respected adult. The second you try to speak a new language, you violently strip all of that away. You want to make that clever joke about the weather, but instead you look at the sky, point, and grunt, rain, bad. You sound like a caveman. You are instantly reduced to a helpless toddler who can't even express basic emotions. You can't show your intelligence. You can't show your charm. You sound slow. Your brain hates this. Specifically, your amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for detecting threats, perceives this massive downgrade in social status as a literal matter of life and death. In human evolutionary history, looking stupid and being socially rejected from the tribe meant you were going to be left behind and eaten by a predator. So when you try to speak and you feel that physical hesitation and cold sweat, that is not a lack of vocabulary. That is your brain pulling the emergency survival brake to save you from social humiliation. This is the hidden mechanism nobody talks about. We think we're studying to get better at the language, but most of us are actually studying to avoid looking dumb. You sit alone in your room looking at textbooks. You turn on foreign movies with subtitles, silently convincing yourself you're absorbing the sounds. You get a little notification from your language app telling you you're doing great, giving you a safe hit of dopamine. Do you know what all these things have in common? They are completely safe. There is no actual human being looking at you with a confused expression. Your ego is never at risk. We're using studying as the ultimate procrastination tool to avoid the battlefield of actually speaking. So, how do you break through this massive defense mechanism and actually start speaking? You need a specific, almost brutal approach that forces your brain to rewire itself. The very first thing you have to do is completely destroy the internal translator in your head. The traditional way languages are taught in schools all over the world forces you to calculate sentences like mathematical formulas. Imagine someone asks you, "What did you do this weekend?" Here's what happens in your head. "I had a terrible headache, so I just stayed in bed and watched Netflix." Okay, translation time. What is the noun for headache? Right, what is the past tense of to stay? Wait, does this verb take a special preposition? By the time you finish this mental calculus and open your mouth, 5 seconds have passed. In human conversation, a 5-second pause is an eternity. The other person is already bored and looking at their phone. You can never keep up with the speed of conversation if you're constantly translating. People who learn to converse rapidly attach words directly to raw reality. Stop matching foreign words to your native words one-to-one. Attach the new foreign sound directly to the burning feeling of anger or the physical sensation of a headache. Deleting that middle step of the internal translator is your first necessary move. Once you stop translating, the next step is to weaponize your own embarrassment. Think about how we experience memory. There are cold memories and hot memories. A cold memory is a fact in a textbook. You can stare at a list of words for hours, and your brain will ruthlessly throw them in the trash the moment you go to sleep because they carry no emotional weight. A hot memory is entirely different. It is tied to adrenaline, fear, and shame. Imagine you're at a cafe in a foreign country trying to order a specific pastry. You mispronounce one vowel. Instead of asking for bread, you accidentally ask the barista for a kiss, or you say a terrible curse word. The barista's eyes go wide. The people in line behind you chuckle. Your face burns so hot it could melt steel. In that agonizing moment, your amygdala screams, "Danger! This information is critical for survival." That sting to your ego is neurochemical gold. You could live to be 90 years old and forget your own phone number, but you will never, ever forget the correct pronunciation of that pastry. You have to stop studying in comfortable safety and deliberately throw yourself into real conversations where you risk looking foolish. At this point, you're probably making the ultimate excuse. Look, I don't have the money to fly to cafe in Paris. I live in my hometown. There are no native speakers around me. I can't study abroad. This is a perfectly logical excuse. But you don't need a plane ticket. You need friction. And you can manufacture that friction right in your own living room. Here's how you do it. First, become the live narrator of your own life. When you're alone in your room, speak your actions and feelings out loud. "Ah, I spilled coffee on my shirt. This is so annoying." Try to say that out loud in the language you're learning. You'll instantly hit a wall. You won't know the verb for spilled. That intense frustration is your brain creating a gap. Look the word up in that exact moment of annoyance. You'll forget a verb you read on a vocabulary list tomorrow, but you'll never forget the word you searched for while aggressively wiping up spilled coffee. Next, turn the piece of glass in your pocket into a ruthless language partner. We live in the age of AI. Turn on the voice conversation feature of your AI assistant. Don't just ask it for the weather. Try to explain to it why your boss is terrible. If your pronunciation is bad or your grammar is broken, the AI will not understand. It will give you a weird, confused answer. That tiny spike of awkwardness and annoyance perfectly simulates the social pressure of talking to a real human being. It triggers your brain's survival instinct without any permanent social damage. Finally, hack your mirror neurons. When you watch a foreign movie, do not just comfortably read the subtitles. When the main character yells in anger, pause the video. Yell that exact line with the exact same anger, the exact same facial expression, and the exact same pitch. Do not just read it, act it. When you attach a foreign sound to physical muscle movement and real emotion, your brain stops treating it as abstract data. It becomes a physical part of your body. Once you build the courage to manufacture this friction in your daily life, you must radically change what you're actually learning. Generic courses teach you things like the post office is next to the zoo, or my uncle is an architect. When was the last time you discussed a post office or a zebra in your daily life? Never. Drop the illusion of mastering the entire language perfectly and start learning your specific life in that language. Map the new foreign language onto your actual identity. If you're a gym addict, you need to know how to say, "That guy is hogging the squat rack." If you're an exhausted corporate worker, you need to know how to say, "This meeting could have been an email." If you're a designer, you learn to say, "That font is a crime." You don't need tens of thousands of words. You need the specific vocabulary that triggers your daily emotions. When the language becomes intensely personal, your brain stops treating it as boring data and starts treating it as a vital tool for expressing who you are. Armed with the vocabulary of your own life, you will inevitably hit the most painful phase, the intermediate swamp. This is the stage where you know enough to order dinner, but not enough to show your true personality. This is where most people quit. Imagine you're sitting at a dinner table with 5 native speakers. The conversation is flowing like a rapid river. Someone tells a story. You have the absolute perfect joke in your head. It will make everyone laugh, but you need 3 seconds to construct it in the foreign language. You build the sentence, you inhale to deliver the punchline, and someone else changes the topic to politics. You exhale quietly. You feel like a ghost. You are physically there, but your real charm is trapped inside a soundproof glass box. When you feel this terrible isolation, you will have an overwhelming urge to run back to the safety of your native language, where you are smart and respected. But you must not retreat. This precise feeling of frustration, this intense silent struggle to let your personality out, is the exact trigger that forces your brain to rewire itself. Your brain finally realizes, if I don't solve this problem, I will be permanently socially isolated. True fluency is only born in the middle of this messy, frustrating stage. Finally, you have to completely flip your relationship with the unknown. Most of us freeze when we hear a long sentence and don't understand 2 words in it. We panic and drop the entire context. But fast learners thrive in that ambiguity. Imagine you're at a noisy train station. An announcement comes over the terrible speakers. It sounds like static, a mumble, and then you barely hear the words delayed and platform 9. You didn't understand 90% of the sentence. Do you freeze and panic? No. You grab your bag and sprint to platform 9. You aggressively guessed. That is what conversing in a language is. You listen to the melody, you watch the body language, you catch one noun you know, and you shamelessly guess the rest. You drop the compulsion to perfectly control everything. This entire process is fundamentally an exercise in letting go of control. That is why it is so hard for adults to learn languages. We spend our entire lives building up our resumes, getting degrees, and constructing armor to protect ourselves. We desperately want to be seen as intelligent. Learning a new language means voluntarily taking off that armor and walking out into the world naked. You have to be willing to look like a fool. But there is a profound liberation at the end of that process. When you finally abandon the obsession with perfection, when you stop calculating grammar in your head and just force out messy words to connect with the human being in front of you, magic happens. They don't judge you, they smile, they lean in, and they help you finish your sentence. You realize that language is not a test you have to score 100% on. It is a bridge you are building in real time. Have you ever noticed that when you speak a foreign language, your personality slightly shifts? Your voice changes pitch. You use exaggerated gestures you never use back home. You might become more direct or more polite. It's not an accident. You are literally carving out a new neural avatar inside your mind. The moment you make someone laugh in a language that is not your own, the moment you comfort a friend using words that were just alien noise to you a few months ago, your brain physically changes. You don't just acquire new vocabulary, you acquire a new version of yourself. A version that is infinitely more resilient, more empathetic, and completely free from the fear of looking foolish. You don't need a better memory. You don't need a more expensive online course. You just need the courage to be an absolute embarrassing mess until, suddenly, one day, you aren't. If you want to keep exploring the hidden mechanics behind your mind and behavior, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button, because understanding how you operate is the only true first step to changing it. Thanks for watching, you wired human.